as me being 60, I keep saying there's a difference of age. I'm 60, and you are half my age.
Right.
That's why it's different in our thinking pattern.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't put down in you some values, then you ain't gonna put down in your children some values.
Right.
But this one here, yes.
Right.
My brother.
We need some applause for this, man. How many people have heard? If you have heard about the recidivism rate, man, go ahead and give yourself an applause. If you know about the recidivism rate, go ahead and give yourself an applause as well. Because the whole thing is that the recidivism rate is basically it is the chances that someone that's a felon is going to reoffend and find themselves back in jail. I'm gonna just sum it up for you. It's the chances. It's the chances that a felon will repeat another crime and land himself back in jail, him or herself back in jail. And the recidivism rate is extremely high, and it doesn't make any kind of sense the way that it is, because when you check the recidivism rate, right, you got to understand why these things are happening. I'm a person that try to understand why these things are happening, and it's happening because, and it's not an excuse, but really it is a good excuse, if you will, because once you label someone as a felon and check out how they keep on having black men mass incarcerated, we talk about that. Yo, these young niggas is out here catching felonies at 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Your life done with, bro. You can't get a good job, bro. Even if you had something, right? Even if you had something as small as theft, right? People don't understand how theft being on your record is so harmful, because you can't even be a cashier. You know what I'm saying? They don't want people that got theft on their record counting money and exchanging money and stuff like that. It only makes sense. But see, that's how slavery still exists, through the jail system and stuff like that too. You become a slave to the system. Slavery was never done away with. That's the 13th Amendment. But as I digress, the recidivism rate allows that, because once you be slapped a felon, you can't get a good job. So the chances of you repeating and going out to the lifestyle that you know to get money and all that is very likely, because Burger King ain't gonna cut it. You understand what I'm saying? You working at these jobs ain't gonna get your house paid and all that stuff like how you used to get that money. You know what I'm saying? So what other choice you got? You know what I mean? Other than to go out and do the same thing that you know how to do to get money, which is illegal. You know what I'm saying? So now you find yourself back in this situation again, and you're going to land right back in jail, because eventually they're going to catch you. And that's why the recidivism rate is the way that it is.
And that's the part that blows my mind. You a felon because they made the pen and say this is against the law and you broke it. Now you are a felon. Give you a prime example. Me at a younger age had $35 worth of marijuana. $35. It was the 2 fingers and a plastic bag, meaning that weed. I'm tired of buying dime bags of weed. So I do this. And then they charged me with felony. So, and I'm 19. So the rest of my future is destroyed, because they signed and said it was against the law. Now watch this. The same pen sign and say, now marijuana is not against the law. Do you see how much sense that is? It's because they made the power to say what's the law and what's not. You are felon, you're not felon. Mm-hmm. And we start to believe that we are less than someone else, because now they put a label on us and say, now I'm a felon. And we had to stop following that, because you did something while you were learning, which we all did. It is not one human being on the face of this earth has not broken a law. It's impossible. And if we understand that no one is better than anyone else, no one's less than anyone else. But when we accept it, you see the results, because we don't have, watch this, black leaders standing up who change policies and procedures, you know what I mean, and change the laws within itself. That's why we're suffering. Look how it is now. You have to work at those jobs less than now, because you now have what they call, remember this, a felon. Right. You know, it's up to us. If we don't change it, we're going to still be known as felons. Get it?
We got a video to share for that as well, too. One's in the chat if you can hear it. If you can't hear it, no, just throw one in the chat. If you can't hear it, we'll correct it. If you can, you don't even have to.
Let us know.
You don't even have to say nothing right now. Reloading. Let's see what it say. I don't know why it's doing that.
You've been there before. The Department of Justice says 6 out of 10 prisoners released in 2012 were rearrested within 3 years. The bad news is that those numbers are still high, thousands of people caught in a cycle of being in and out of jail. The good news is that, according to those 2012 numbers, the most recent available, the reincarceration rate declined compared to 2005. Circumstances that drive people to offend in the first place are often the same circumstances that land them back on the inside.
I was willing to commit a crime, which with the chances of going back, because I felt like, what was the point of me being here? Like, I didn't have another shot.
The Bureau of Justice Statistics reports that people who've been arrested several times in the past tend to be arrested at even higher rates post-release. Breaking the cycle can be difficult. There are several reasons why. After release, people have trouble landing a job, and there may be other barriers, like finding a place to live.
I thought I would feel lower being in prison, but sometimes coming home and not being able to provide or do what you're supposed to do can make you feel even lower.
But researchers say that offenders with more education and vocational training are less likely to reoffend. Reentry programs centered on adult development are a critical step to prepare prisoners to reenter society.
A lot of respect, integrity, the love, the faith.
And it's important to get to them sooner rather than later, as people are most likely to commit new crimes within the first 2 years of their release. A recent analysis by the Council on Criminal Justice says rearrest rates within 5 years are still high, but researchers are encouraged by the downward trend. The reason the numbers are going down is unclear, but the council notes fewer people being arrested for minor offenses, more federal money being spent on reducing recidivism, and private businesses increasingly open to hiring former criminals. States like Michigan have seen tremendous drops in incarceration rates after implementing reentry programs. Other countries are ahead of the United States, which has 2 million people behind bars. Norway, for example, has one of the lowest recidivism rates in the world. Just 1 in 5 people end up back in prison after release. Advocates say that's because the Norwegian criminal justice system places a priority on restorative justice and rehabilitation, like job training and mental health counseling. John Moan, Newsy.
All right, we don't own the rights to that either. You guys were able to actually see a visual about the recidivism rate and kind of what it looks like. And one thing they stayed away from is how Black people are falling victim to that, because we know Black people are incarcerated unjustly. They just will not acknowledge that. This is why a lot of times this country will not heal from certain stuff like that. And I will keep saying that because we be bleeding from wounds that we refuse to address. So, of course, we're going to bleed out. Racism is one of them. Mass incarceration is another one of them. Abortion and all that stuff is another one of them. Marriage and all that stuff is another one of them. We bleeding out from too many places. We got too many wounds not to address what's going on with us. And we wonder why we messed up as a country and as a race. Come on now. Let's give a round of applause for that too. Let's give a round of applause for that. Let's give a round of applause for that, because we be more for real on this one, man. We talk about real stuff. And you got something else you want to add about that?
But the solution. Straight to the solution.
The solution to the recidivism rate is actually us believing as a country, and we got to beat them at their own game, for real. You know what I'm saying? They say these politicians and all that stuff, we withdraw our vote. We don't give a crap if you Democrat, Republican, or whatever. If you don't uphold our views, if you don't do what we ask for, you will not get this vote. And this is why this podcast is important, because we're going to get the power of the people behind us, and we're going to get the people to make accurate decisions. We're going to give them the information unbiasedly so that we can make accurate decisions. But we're going to do it as a collective so that we can control what goes on in our neighborhoods and our community. You will not. We will refuse for you to represent us. You will have nothing to do with us if you don't meet our demands as a people and do what you're supposed to do as a person of the government. What you say?
Hey, I wholeheartedly agree with you.
What you say?
Well said.
Yeah, I appreciate that. He said you need some applause for that. Let's get some applause for that.
Well said. Well said.